Hi guys, and welcome to Force Rape Timeline Hangout number 79. This is pre-recorded. I know, I keep saying the next one will be live, but there's a very good reason for this being pre-recorded. It's on a subject recollections may vary. I'll be saying some things which may, how can I put it, it's possible this video will be deleted or restricted or whatever, and if I go live it could vanish. I've heard of this before, that the live stream is stopped halfway through. I don't want that to happen. This is primarily about that little whore Virginia Roberts, the former Virginia Roberts. But first of all, one or two other subjects, similar things, recollections varying. Mike Tyson has been accused of rape. As you may know, even if you're not as ancient as me, Mike Tyson, once great boxer, now trash, long since trash. Tyson is a convicted rapist. He raped Desiree Washington. Don't let anyone tell you he didn't. He's also a convicted thug, I think twice convicted thug, and a self-confessed, boasting, if you like, a boastful wife beater. He married a trophy wife, Robin Givens, and he didn't treat her like a trophy. He's been sued by some mad bitch who claims he raped her in the 1990s. Tyson is an easy target for all those reasons, and I don't give any credence at all to this. Interestingly, this article I'm reading here from, this is WLBT3 on your side. Woman files suit accusing Mike Tyson of rape in early 90s. It says that the legal action in New York was filed under the state's Adult Survivors Act, which gives sexual assault victims a 1-year window to file lawsuits over assaults that happened years or even decades ago. If you click on the link, it takes you to an Associated Press bulletin. Wave of sex abuse lawsuits seen as New York's NY opens door for victims victims and lots of other people. Advocates say the Adult Sexual Survivors Act is an important step in the national reckoning over sexual misconduct and could provide a measure of justice to people who may have needed time to come forward due to trauma. Yeah, like 10-15 years in trauma, embarrassment or fear of retaliation. I feel like I've been in jail for almost 3 decades, said Liz Stein, 49, who says she was abused by the millionaire and notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein when she was a young woman. The law is modelled after the state's Child Victims Act, and you can blame Gloria Allred for this cunt who framed Bill Cosby. And again, any of you who doubt that, check out my video, The Prior Bad Acts of Gloria Allred. This woman should be in prison, not just for what she did to Cosby, but for what she tried to do to Judge Roy Moore. The law is modelled after the state's Child Victims Act, which opened a 2-year window in 2019, during which almost 11,000 people sued churches, hospitals, schools, camps, scout groups and other institutions over abuse they said they had suffered as children. Oh, seriously? It's absolutely ludicrous. Hopefully this will be thrown out, this Tyson sort of be thrown out. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous that they're allowed to do this. I mean, what can I say? I don't believe a word of this. I mean, she was, in view of the Desiree Washington case, if she had been raped by Tyson before or after, she would have come forward then, undoubtedly. Mike Tyson may be trash, but George Foreman isn't. He's a very charismatic fellow, and certainly in his second boxing career. and this is from a website called the Jasmine Brand. Update: boxer George Foreman countersues sexual abuse accuser for defamation. Yeah, another boxer accused. New details have surfaced surrounding the sexual abuse allegations George Foreman is facing, so this isn't quite new. According to reports, the retired boxer is claiming that the woman accusing him of sexually abusing her when she was a minor over 45 years ago is lying. She might just well be. Reportedly, Foreman acknowledges that he can't pursue legal action against Gwen H, as opposed to Jane Doe, for the allegations in the lawsuit. However, he claims she stepped outside that protection when she held a news conference about the alleged abuse last year. A news conference. Why don't she appear in person? Yeah, this is, I mean, these women are utterly pathetic. It's the original story, August 26, 2022. 2 women who accused George Foreman of sexual abuse in the 1970s. And now, I mean, just absolutely ridiculous, these cases, these claims. And they should not be permitted. The situation in Britain is even worse, but they shouldn't be permitted. Right, before coming to Roberts, another individual for whom recollections may vary quite a lot. I'd never heard of Eliza Bleu, Blue spelt capital B-L-E-U. She goes by, well, she has gone by several other names, but I saw her on Tim Pool. She's also been with Viva Fry and Barnes. Appears to fool them. Barnes isn't quite as smart as he thinks he is. Anyone who believes that Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't a lone assassin ain't that smart. Do the research. Do some proper research. But she's taken in a lot of people, and because of this, and because of rather bizarre behaviour with the quartering, Jeremy Hambley, she's opened herself up to a lot of scrutiny. She claims to be a survivor of sex trafficking, and to be an advocate for trafficking victims. And part of her, what she calls trafficking, is catfishing. If I'm moving around a bit, it's because I've got a hot water bottle on my back. It's been giving me murder of late. Catfishing, stealing people's photographs and passing them off. that and she's made all sorts of claims about. But she's claimed she was trafficked from about the age of 15, and so people have examined. Several people have examined her claims, and they fall apart. She was, well, her age is uncertain. Her age, she appears to have been 21 at one point and 17 a couple of years later. And it's just complete nonsense. But she's been making a lot of money out of these ludicrous claims, and they are ludicrous. And she's been exposed, so I doubt Tim Pool will invite her back. I hope not. She's been threatening people with to sue them for what she calls what was it? Unauthorised use of private photographs. The private photographs concerned with screen grabs of videos she made for a company that paid her for it. I was just absolutely ludicrous. She's a looker. Well, not such a looker now, but she was a looker in her time. Nice set of jugs too, but she's toxic, totally toxic. And a con woman. It's just, the story's too ridiculous for words. I might add it to the Full Swipe timeline at some point. For the benefit of those of you who don't know, there are 4 narratives of prostitution. You'll find it on my main website, Prostitution 4 Narratives. The first is of the fallen woman That's the biblical harlot or the Victorian unfortunate. The second, which is a product of the sick mind of women like Catherine McKinnon, second wave feminism, is prostitution as rape. Some of these idiots even go further and claim that pornography is rape. Doesn't sound so persuasive now that the porn industry isn't controlled by big business. Check out my video. Right, it's a speech actually. The truth about pornography. I'll leave a link if I remember. They add to the four narratives of prostitution. The third was the sex industry, women working in and around the sex industry, which now includes lots of women who are not prostitutes. I mean, lot of the stuff on the internet can't be construed as prostitution. There are women who wrestle men and who do all sorts of things. Look up the stiletto goddess so she's having a life sentence. See how pornography actually empowers women, not necessarily in a good way. So the sex industry struck back with prostitution. Sex work is work, or sex work is real work, or just sex work is work. So the anti-prostitution lobby came up with trafficking, sex trafficking. There's also people trafficking. There can be such a thing as trafficking, but it's a catch-all. In the United States, prostitution is illegal except for I think 6 or 7 counties in Nevada, and police spend a lot of time trying to attract prostitutes and their so-called Johns. In the States, it's illegal for men as well to use prostitutes, which is stay away from these filthy whores. That's my advice. If you're an incel, even stay away from them. Better to go without. Better if you have a choice of eating poison or going hungry, stay hungry. Yeah, stay hungry. Go hungry. But Blues is one. I mean, the classic, of course, is Somali Mam, who's on the timeline. Look her up, Somali Mam. She was a Cambodian prostitute and one of the biggest con women who ever lived. So, anyway, Blue has been pushing this trafficking narrative, and it's just absolutely ludicrous. Right, now let's come to the main event. Virginia Roberts, the former Virginia Roberts, Virginia Giuffre. I actually made several videos about this woman. The Prince and the Whore, parts 1 and 2. Prince Andrew not guilty, and she also gets a mention in Epstein's Willing Whores, which is a full scope timeline hangout, not a live hangout. She's a horrible woman. Basically what's happened is that she was in legal action with Alan Dershowitz, whom she'd falsely accused of having sex with her when she was underage. Dershowitz said he's never met her, and I believe him. And she's withdrawn from her lawsuit, claiming that she's realised she isn't certain. This is a time in my life when I was going through so much, and I mean, Dershowitz is quite a recognisable individual, and if she'd had sex with him half a dozen times, I mean, she would have realised. No, what happened was that they reached the discovery stage of the lawsuit, and she realised that she's been exposed as the liar she is. This concerns really Prince Andrew, and this whole case, if you want to call it that, is based on corrupt media, and at least one corrupt lawyer, and whoever else is backing this was backing her, because litigation, that sort of litigation with those sort of lawyers, is expensive. She sued Prince Andrew, and he settled, and he shouldn't have done, but I'm advised Lady Colin Campbell, among others, has said that he was forced to settle by the palace. The reason being that, I mean, if the Queen was celebrating her 70 years on the throne, absolutely an unparalleled record of service, and it would have overshadowed her. I forget what it is now. It's a platinum, I think, isn't it? Platinum, anniversary, whatever. I mean, the Queen is dead now, sadly. She's working up to two days before her death. She was working. That's 96 years old. Imagine that. But Andrew settled. The whole thing is lies. Now, her meeting with Andrew is based on a photograph. I'm going to show you now two photographs. The first is that infamous photograph, and the second is another, unfortunately, infamous photograph. Right, the first photograph is Prince Andrew with Virginia Roberts, allegedly. The second is a genuine photograph that shows the First Lady of the United States with a man named John Gacy, who some of you true crime buffs may ring a bell. Gacy was a notorious serial killer. That photograph was taken a few months before Gacy's arrest. It would have been embarrassing to the Carter administration. That's like Rosalind Carter, First Lady of the United States. It would have been embarrassing to the Carter administration, and you can understand why they might have tried to hush it up. They didn't, but if they had, the whole conspiracy could have been drawn around that. Andrew, when he did that, what's called a car crash interview with Emily Maitlis, he said he had no recollection of ever meeting Roberts, as she was then. And I think the reason for that is he was afraid that if he said he'd never met her, or if he'd admitted he'd met her and denied the sexual encounter, she'd have sued him for defamation. This is something that's been pioneered by that cunt Gloria Allred. And again, check out my video, The Prior Bad Acts of Gloria Allred. I think that may have been it. It may have been A Gentleman Never Tells. It may have been he was ashamed of having sex with a prostitute, which is what she was. Doubts have arisen as to the veracity of the photograph. Lady Victoria Harvey claims to have found the bloke who forged it. More recently, we've seen the Daily Mail has shown a photographer who was sent to Australia, where Roberts lives, or maybe she's not. Well, maybe she's living in Australia and the United States for the money she's made. Who's been backing her? The photograph was processed. It was taken on a flash camera and was processed when she returned to the United States, and the proof for that appears to be, well, it would be convincing if it had been released nearer the time, but this photograph didn't materialise until 2011. Now, let's assume it's genuine. Let's assume Lady Victoria Harvey's been hoodwinked. There's no doubt she's embellished, because Ghislaine Maxwell, who's languishing in an American prison charged with, well, serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking, a sentence which in the UK would have got 5 years at most, because, well, I mean, it's just, the whole trial was a travesty. And Roberts wasn't considered a credible witness to testify, and indeed one of the witnesses at the trial testified that Roberts had recruited her they said that she claims to have had sex with Andrew in a bath, and they claim, and they produce evidence of the fact that the bath isn't big enough for two people to do what she claims happened. So it may be that the encounter happened, but she's embellished. She's embellished a lot of things. Now, I believe the photograph to be genuine, but let's say Lady Colin Campbell said that it was taken in March 2001, which was the coldest night of the year, and if she'd been at Trump club, you know, I feel that if Prince Andrew had been seen with a much younger woman, a teenage girl at that time, there would have been a photograph or something, but there was not a whisper, not a murmur until 2011, when this photograph was adduced. Now, if I may find the entry, here it is. Yeah, isn't it? No. Ah, here we are. Now, right, here we are, I think. Right, February 27th, 2011, the Mail on Sunday reported that she revealed she was a teenage prostitute flown all over the world by a convicted sex offender to meet Prince Andrew. Convicted sex offender, not paedophile. Jeffrey Epstein was not a paedophile. He did not he wasn't snatching 8-year-old girls or feeling up 8-year-olds. It was slightly younger girls, slightly below age of consent. Well, the age of consent in Florida is higher than in Britain, but in Britain the age of consent is 16, right? So a man of my age can have sex with a 16-year-old girl legally. 50-year difference. Legally, obviously it wouldn't be, you know, people would be disgusted. Strangely, not so disgusted with miscegenation, but that's another story. But it would be legal for a man of my age or older to have sex with a 16-year-old girl. He was recruiting girls slightly below that age to give him massages. There have been claims later that he forced them to have sex or they were raped. There have been those claims. There were no claims of that made at the time of his time of his conviction, time of his arrest and conviction. It was only soliciting a prostitute under the age of 16 for sex. Soliciting an under the age of 18, sorry. Soliciting an underage girl an underage female for the purposes of sex. Now, she claimed to have met Epstein when she was 15. No, she didn't. She met him when she was 16 at least, because she was working at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago and she wouldn't have been employed there if she was 15. So that's a lie. That's an important lie. So anyway, this photograph appeared in February 2011, and there's no suggestion that she'd had sex with the Duke. No suggestion at all. In December 2014, she filed this lawsuit, and in January 2015, Prince Andrew was named. She claimed in that lawsuit she'd had sex with Prince Andrew and with Dershowitz. Dershowitz wasn't happy about that. It's privileged. People can put all sorts of things they don't like in pleadings. So, for 4 years, for the best part of, well, certainly over 3 years, she made no allegation against Andrew at all. None. What she claims now is that her claim is basically she was acting under duress, that because she was underage in the United States, anything she did was under duress. She was sexually abused by Andrew, even though she was paid $15,000 for it. She was threatened by Epstein. Well, No, no. She wasn't a victim of Epstein. She was a trusted employee, well, agent, I think is the proper word, because she was recruiting other girls. She's admitted that. Here is her admission.
All Jeffrey cared about was go find me more girls. To me, still to this day, it is my biggest shame that I carry around that I will never get rid of. And I'm really, really sad that I brought other girls my age and even younger into a world that they should have never been introduced to.
She's admitted a lot more than that. She split with Epstein when he sent her to Thailand. The idea of what she says, he sent her there on a massage course. Sorry about the creaking table. On a massage course, and she was to bring a Thai girl back with her. But while she was there, she met her cuck husband. I won't put him down. Actually, on that video you just seen, at the end there's the image of her with him in Thailand. I won't put him down because he's obviously a decent bloke. She had a chance of being a decent woman. She was a housewife, a mother of 3. She could have stayed with that, living in the outback, but no, she wants, money, and she's obtained that by tarnishing the reputation of Prince Andrew and Dershowitz and other people. Dershowitz said that this was actually a plot. There was a plot between her and 2 sisters to shake down Leslie Wexner, the man behind Victoria's Secret company. A lot of the people involved, almost all of them are Jews. There's Epstein. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell is the daughter of a Jew, Robert Maxwell. Technically she's a Gentile because her mother was a Gentile. Wexner, of course. The others are involved are Jews. I mean, I'm usually supposed to be the sort of person who's promulgating anti-Jewish conspiracy theories. Anti-Jewish, indeed. Theories, indeed. But I don't know if it's relevant. It probably isn't relevant here. Just that they're wealthy people. But there was a shakedown attempt. I don't know how true any of that is, but it seems to me that the people, the prime accusers here, including Sarah Ransom, they did well out of Epstein. Well, the 2 sisters not so much, but it's sordid, but it's a long way from. What I like to do is compare this case with Epstein's so-called victims with those of the grooming gang scandals in England. If you check those out, I mean, there were actually murders there. There was one bloke firebombed a house and killed 3 people. One was a girl who'd been. I've limited sympathy for these women because decent young white girls don't go with packy taxi drivers. I'm sorry, but it's no. So I've limited sympathy with them for them. But if you compare the grooming gang scandal with this, it's entirely different. But they were well remunerated for their services. They could have made something of themselves, but no. Well, they've sued him afterwards, got some money out of him. So, but her premise is that because she was underage, because she was under 18, she has no agency for her bad acts, none at all. February 12th is the 30th anniversary of the murder of James Bulger. 2 10-year-old boys did that. If you're not familiar with it, it's a truly horrible case. They kidnapped this kid from a shopping centre while his mother's back was turned, and absolutely horrible murder. They were sentenced to 8 years detention each. John Venables is back behind bars again and will be there hopefully for the rest of his life for other crimes, for what he's obviously planning. But they were 10 years old, but even they had agency. The Slender Man case in the United States, with 2 12-year-old girls lured a third into the woods and stabbed her, was it like 19 times, something like that, including the heart. Miraculously, she survived. And they didn't come to trial till they were 15, and they've been given very, very heavy sentences. Philip Chisholm, a monster, 14-year-old, he murdered his, I won't go into the details here, but he murdered his teacher, Colleen Richter. I think it's Colleen Richter, something like that. Absolutely horrible case. Look it up, but beware, it's horrible. He was 14, he's doing 25, I think 25-year minimum. Now, the crimes for which she committed, which then Victoria Robbs committed, were a lot less serious. She didn't murder anyone. But a 16-year-old, 17-year-old has agency. She has agency. So she should have been in the dock with Ghislaine Maxwell. She wasn't regarded as a credible witness, but she should have been in the dock along with Ghislaine Maxwell. It's probably the FBI agreed not to prosecute her if she spilled the beans. So I don't know what's going on there, but Andrew did nothing wrong. She was a prostitute, a filthy, stinking whore, a woman who sold her vagina to be abused by men. That's what she was. So he did nothing wrong. The idea, you could argue that Royal shouldn't do this, but actually, if you look back in history, there's the Cleveland Street scandal of 1889, in which it was a homosexual brothel in Cleveland Street. I used to use an internet cafe there, actually, many years ago, half a lifetime ago, nearly. There was the Cleveland Street, half a lifetime ago, yeah. Anyway, the Cleveland Street scandal. Kings used to knock up women, and I mean, they had Henry VIII had no male heir, but he had a son outside of wedlock. Kings did this, and other members of the royal family did it. Prince Andrew did nothing wrong, right? He shagged a 17. At worst, he shagged a 17-year-old. If I did that when I was his age, he's a few years younger than me. If I did that in 2001, I'd have celebrated. I'd have put a notch on my bedpost. So he did nothing wrong. I wouldn't have had sex with a whore though, if I'd known she was a whore. But if he had sex with this woman, he did nothing wrong. And the whole thing is a shakedown. There was no sexual abuse here of Virginia Roberts. The only sexual abuse was the sexual abuse in which she participated and the recruiting she did for Jeffrey Epstein. So anyway, that's Full Circle Timeline Hangout 79. Hopefully the next one will be live.